Friends, we can all see that many white bloggers have millions of followers. Please support me too, because my followers are still few. Black bloggers also deserve to be famous. My friends, let's unite and lift each other up. Please press subscribe button and like. In the heart of a small American town, a black motorcyclist named Marcus Carter cruised down the sun-drenched highway on his custom Harley-Davidson. The roar of the engine was a symphony of freedom, a stark contrast to the oppressive silence that often followed him. Marcus was not just any rider. He was a decorated veteran, a former colonel in the U.S. Army. Now on a charity ride to raise awareness for veterans' mental health, he approached the town of Lakeside. Two police officers, Tanner and Briggs, sat idling in their patrol car. Tanner, a seasoned officer with a reputation for aggressive policing, squinted at Marcus as he rode past. "Look at that," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "Fancy bike for a guy like him. Bet he stole it." Briggs, fresh out of the academy, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Maybe we should just let him go," he suggested, but Tanner was already reaching for the radio. "No way. Let's see what he's up to." With lights flashing, Tanner pulled Marcus over. The motorcycle came to a halt, and Marcus raised his hands, palms open, resting them on the handlebars. "What's the problem, officer?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. "License and registration," Tanner barked, his hand hovering near his holster. "And don't make any sudden moves." "May I reach for my wallet?" Marcus asked, maintaining eye contact. He could feel the tension in the air, the weight of assumptions pressing down on him. "Just do it," Tanner snapped, his tone laced with contempt. As Marcus retrieved his military ID, Tanner's skepticism only deepened. "Colonel? In what army?" he sneered, tossing the ID back at Marcus. "United States Army," Marcus replied evenly. 30 years of service. I'm on a charity ride." "Step off the bike," Tanner ordered, his voice rising. "Now." "Why?" Marcus asked, his composure unwavering. "I haven't done anything wrong." "Because I said so." Tanner shot back, his aggression palpable. Marcus dismounted, knowing the risks of defiance all too well. He stood beside his motorcycle, hands at his sides. The sun glinting off the chrome that asked Tanner circled him like a predator. Briggs hesitated, sensing the injustice unfolding. "This doesn't feel right," he murmured, but Tanner dismissed it with a wave. "Mind if we take a look at your bags?" Tanner demanded, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. "Officer, you need probable cause to search my vehicle," Marcus interjected, his voice steady. "I'm not refusing, but I'm asserting my rights." Tanner stepped closer, his body language threatening. "What are you hiding, Colonel?" he spat, the title dripping with sarcasm. "Nothing," Marcus replied, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to Tanner's hostility. "I'm just passing through." Ignoring Marcus's words, Tanner nodded to Briggs, who began rifling through the saddlebags. He pulled out a sealed envelope bearing military insignia. "What's this?" he asked, confusion creeping into his voice. "Classified material," Marcus stated, his authority as a former officer evident. "You shouldn't be handling that." Tanner scoffed, tearing the envelope open and scattering the papers across the ground. "Looks like you're hiding something after all," he taunted. The small crowd began to gather, drawn by the commotion. Among them was an elderly veteran, Frank Thompson, who recognized Marcus instantly. "That's Colonel Carter," he shouted, disbelief etched on his face. "He served our country." Tanner's expression hardened as he realized the attention they were drawing. "Nothing to see here," he barked, but the murmurs of the crowd grew louder. "Officer, I need to make a call," Marcus said, his voice calm but firm. "You have 5 minutes before you destroy your career." Tanner laughed, but the unease in his eyes betrayed him. He dragged Marcus toward the patrol car, ignoring the mounting evidence of his misconduct. "You're under arrest for possession of falsified government documents and resisting arrest," he declared. His voice dripping with malice, Marcus was shoved into the back seat. He locked eyes with Frank, who had rushed to the scene. "I'll make sure they know who you are," Frank promised, his voice steady. Inside the patrol car, Marcus sat upright, the handcuffs biting into his wrists. He knew the stakes were high, but he also knew he had allies. As Tanner drove, he felt the weight of the situation shift. The military had eyes on him, and they wouldn't let this injustice stand. Meanwhile, Frank had called his grandson, Lieutenant David Thompson, who immediately alerted the Pentagon. "They've arrested Colonel Carter," he reported, urgency in his voice. "It's a case of profiling." Back in the patrol car, Tanner's bravado began to wane as he noticed the growing number of police vehicles converging on their location. "What's happening?" Briggs asked, anxiety creeping into his voice. "Just a routine stop," Tanner replied, but the tremor in his voice betrayed his fear. As they pulled into the station, military police vehicles surrounded them, and a commanding officer stepped forward. "Release Colonel Carter immediately," he ordered, his voice leaving no room for argument. Tanner's face drained of color as he realized the gravity of his mistake. "I was just doing my job," he stammered, but the words fell hollow. The military officers quickly uncuffed Marcus, restoring his dignity. "Thank you for your service, Colonel," one of them said, respect evident in his tone as the news of the incident spread. The community rallied around Marcus. Protests erupted, demanding accountability for Tanner's actions. The mayor, facing mounting pressure, called for an investigation into the police department's practices that end the weeks that followed. Marcus became a symbol of resilience and change. He worked alongside community leaders to address systemic issues within law enforcement, advocating for reforms that would prevent such incidents from happening again. Tanner, on the other hand, faced the consequences of his actions. The investigation revealed a pattern of misconduct, leading to his termination from the force. As he packed up his belongings, he couldn't shake the feeling of regret. He had let his biases cloud his judgment, and now he was paying the price. Months later, Marcus stood before a crowd at a community forum, sharing his story. "This isn't just about me," he said, his voice strong. "It's about all of us. We need to hold our institutions accountable and ensure that everyone is treated with respect and dignity." The audience erupted in applause, a testament to the change that was taking root in Lakeside. As Marcus looked out at the faces of those who had supported him, he felt a sense of hope. Together, they were rewriting the narrative, transforming a moment of injustice into a catalyst for progress. But just as the atmosphere began to shift toward a brighter future, a shadow loomed over the gathering. A figure stepped forward from the back of the room, a familiar face that sent a ripple of tension through the crowd. It was Tanner, his expression a mix of defiance and desperation. "You think this is over?" he shouted, his voice cutting through the applause. "You don't know what you're dealing with." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Tanner as he continued. "You think you can just erase what happened? You think the military will protect you? You're wrong." Marcus felt a surge of adrenaline. This was the moment he had anticipated. The confrontation that could either solidify the community's resolve or plunge them back into fear. "What do you want, Tanner?" he asked, his voice steady but firm. "I want the truth." Tanner spat, stepping closer. "You think you're a hero, but you're just a pawn in a bigger game. They'll use you, and when they're done, they'll throw you away." The tension in the room was palpable, the air thick with uncertainty. Marcus stood his ground, refusing to let fear dictate his response. "I'm not a pawn, Tanner. I'm a man who fought for this country, and I'm fighting for justice now. You can't intimidate me." As the crowd began to murmur, sensing the gravity of the confrontation, Tanner's eyes flickered with something. Was it fear? Anger? Or perhaps a hint of realization that he was losing control of the narrative he had tried to create? "Just remember," Tanner warned, his voice low and threatening, "the truth has a way of coming out, and when it does, you'll wish you had kept your head down." With that, he turned and stormed out of the room, leaving behind a stunned audience. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle around him. This was far from over, and the battle for justice was just beginning. As he looked around at the faces of those who had gathered to support him, he knew they were ready to stand together against whatever came next. The fight for accountability and change had ignited a fire in their hearts, and they would not back down. But what would Tanner do next? And how far would he go to protect his own interests? The answers loomed like dark clouds on the horizon, and Marcus was determined to face them head-on. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was ready. The last ride had only just begun. Do you want to know the fate of the heroes? Please post part 2. Subscribe to the channel and continue watching. Your opinion and support are important to me. Leave it in the comments. Thank you.